Today I'm going to speak briefly on chapter 129 of the Return of Christ book, the ancient Sumerian story, which was a summary of the Sumerian Mesopotamian foundations of what became eventually the biblical story. There is a very early reference to it in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. And God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness." The Anak, which a shortened term for the Anunnaki, of whom the Nephilim were direct descendants, the sons of God. The brothers Enlil and Enki, sons of Anu, were key figures in the development of mankind throughout history. Interestingly, Anu in Hebrew means we, as in plural. Deuteronomy chapter 9, verse 2, a people great and tall, the sons of the Anakim, whom thou knowest, and of whom thou hast heard say, who can stand before the sons of Anak? The following is told from the point of view of Enlil. Enki, though brilliant, was a spoiled child, jealous of his brother Enlil, and wanting a kingdom of his own. When Nibiru was faced with the crisis of loss of atmosphere, and the Anunnaki decided to mine gold here on Earth to reseed their atmosphere, Enki saw it as an opportunity to grab power. Enki fomented a worker revolt, knowing that he could use Nibiru's emergency to force the council to accept anything. Enki wanted a world filled with slaves that he could rule over, which is something neither the council nor the Anunnaki would have ever allowed. But Enki was shrewd. He convinced the council that Nibiru would die if the gold-seeded atmospheric shield was delayed. He convinced them that the workers would not return to duty and were following his orders since he was in charge of the mining operation. He convinced the council the only solution was to create a non-sentient species out of the highest order of ape available to do the labour, but make them incapable of reproduction, so they would naturally die off. Genesis chapter 6, verse 4. The Nephilim were in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same were the mighty men that were of old, the men of renown. The council saw no alternative, so they reluctantly and conditionally agreed. They allowed Enki to carry out the plan, but Enki pulled a fast one. He gave the new species the ability to breed because Enki wanted a permanent stock of slaves for his planned kingdom. Enki went even further and didn't just manipulate the ape's DNA, but he actually infused Anunnaki DNA into the mix. This would give him slaves that he would also find attractive and acceptable to be in the company of. Enki did this both in the laboratory and also by allowing his loyal striking workers to inseminate the females he created, which led to the Nephilim. When Lord Anu and his son, Lord Enlil, learned of this treachery, Enlil was sent to Earth to correct his brother's sin against the universe, which, in the moral code of the Anunnaki, such a creation was the embodiment of sin, original sin, as it were. Enlil, who we now know as Lord Rael, took over on Earth and brought Enki to justice, but it was too late. Enki had created several abominable and potentially dangerous seed lines, all without an Anunnaki spirit and without Anunnaki morals and virtues. These were savage slaves that resembled the Anunnaki but were violent beasts. We read in Numbers chapter 13, verse 33, and there we saw the Nephilim, the sons of Anak, who come of the Nephilim, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight. The council decided that such an abomination must never be allowed to progress, because there would be a cancerous infestation to the universe, and a danger to any other species they encountered. But because of Anunnaki morals, the genocide of a related race was nearly unthinkable. They decided to let a natural event destroy this abomination. They knew that Nibiru's next close pass by Earth would cause massive flooding, wiping out the abomination. They decided to let it happen. Enki didn't want to lose this opportunity to have a kingdom of his own, so he went against the orders of the council and protected segments of his created beings from the flood. When the council learned of this, they were livid, and Enki paid the price for his treachery. But this left a growing species that was still as dangerous as ever. Enki was forced to return to Earth after each death to guide and teach his creation. Moses is one of his most famous incarnations, giving the law to his people. And finally, as the prime cleric Richard Ruff to prepare his people for the return of his brother Enlil, Yeshua, Rael. That's it for today. There is a part two, and if you could like and subscribe, would be very helpful, and I will bring that one to you soon. Thank you.